AmericanFreedomRadio.com. Hope you had a lovely day. I'm certainly enjoying this lovely early springtime. I don't know, certainly tickles me to go out and see all the new buds and new blooms, and just a reminder of new life and new cycles. And anyways, tonight we're going to kind of be talking about different cycles and different, I don't even really want to say different, alternative viewpoints on life. We are continuing the discussion on soul travel and alternate realities with author and teacher E.A. Koetting. He has a magnificent past. I mean, literally starting from the LDS Church to delving into Satanism, and then he is now a Hungam priest in the Vodun religion and teaching others what he has learned in his past of spirituality. And, you know, I guess I want to say every time we have a show that has kind of an alternative viewpoint, I get some emails and such like, oh my gosh, how can you talk about that? And, you know, they weren't so bad today, but I do just want to bring one up because there's a few questions that I think are really important. And the email reads, okay, the topic, of course, soul travel and alternate realities. The response was, isn't this the same stuff Jared Lee Loughner, the nut who shot the senator in Tucson, was into? And what I want to say to that is, first of all, I can't tell you what Jared was into. In fact, I can't even tell you if he was a real person or not. Or if things happened in the media, or if things happen the way they want us to believe it in the media. I mean, there's many questions from the FBI and law enforcement not knowing which way the gunshot supposedly came from, to witnesses of the 911 calls supposedly saying that the shooter had hair, yet his mugshot a couple hours later, he was completely bald, didn't even have any eyebrows, and then the next day in court, he had a full head of hair again. So there's all sorts of interesting things besides the fact that if you're an activist or have ever been out on the streets with politicians and such, you know there are always police and always cameras. So I think it's just kind of disturbing that there's not one single photo or video of that day, especially since the news itself said that she was taking photos with her constituents. So I guess that's enough about that. I'll put a link in the chat. But as for soul travel and alternate realities, as we've discussed before here, they're there whether you want to recognize it or not. They're there. Soul traveling is happening whether you're paying attention to it or not. So we'll talk about this some more when we come back from this short break. Stay tuned, everyone. E.A. Koetting here on Truth Brigade Radio. All right, welcome back. Thanks so much for joining us here tonight. Truth Brigade on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. If you would like to join us for the text chat tonight, that's over at truthbrigade.com. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to give us a call at 402-237-2525. That's 402-AFR-2525. Our special guest tonight, author, teacher, healer, E.A. Koetting. His website is EternalAscentConsultations.com, or lila.org is where you can get all of his works, including the most recently re-released Evoking Eternity. That's lila.org, LEILAH.org. So good to have you here tonight, E.A. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great. You know, I was listening to you reading that email about this Jared Lohner character, and what kind of came to mind is let's go ahead and play a game here, and let's assume that he was a real person and that he was really into all this new age stuff, and that somehow had something to do with it, with what he did. And looking at it from that view, making all these assumptions that are pretty wild, you can kind of see, though, at least from my experience, when you really get into a lot of these extreme spiritual states, that there is the likelihood that your mind might not be able to deal with it, and that you could snap. I'm not saying that you're going to go on a rampage, but that there is a mental storm, a mental maelstrom that really bombards you when you get into a lot of these extreme altered states, and you really have to sort through them. If you're unstable to begin with, you maybe this might be something you want to steer clear of until you gain more stability, because it really does rack your mind and your whole being pretty intensely. So I'm not saying that anything dealing with the spiritual had anything to do with this horrendous shooting, or that even that's even a real case, but I do know for sure that I've personally had to go through a lot of changes in how I perceive the world and perceive myself in the world because of these spiritual states, and that it has caused moments of pretty intense instability that I had to work through myself. Luckily, that I didn't go into it with enough pre-existing instability to go shoot anybody, but there is a risk of really your sanity at points where you really struggle for that connection to reality and to that anchor to what we consider our three-dimensional reality here.
Okay, very, very good point. I'm glad you brought that up, and I wanted to ask your opinion on that. And, we don't know if anything transpired the way the media said. I just think it's, interesting how people want to blame, say a belief or non-belief in a certain area as the culprit, when they haven't even been able to sort out their own facts yet. So, anyways, I thank you for making that point, and just because it's true, I know a lot of people want to go gung-ho. I want to know everything about this. Give me all the answers right now. I'm ready. And, while we may think we're ready, whether we are or not is an entirely different subject.
Yeah, I learned how to do some remote viewing from a gentleman who was a remote viewer in the U.S. Army, and as he was teaching me, one of the things I wanted to do was what I call instantaneous transfer of knowledge, where rather than just observing an object or a person, that you actually make a psychic link with that person or entity, and rather than going through any kind of conversation or listening to the words that they speak, that you engage I guess you call it a psychic link that allows you to just pass information without words, without symbols or images at all, in basically a flood of intelligence between the two. And that was something I was experimenting with, and he actually had done that a bit, or had seen it done with other remote viewers, and he said that one of them is in the hospital the rest of his life because he just went completely insane from the experience of going too far too fast. And so it's not unheard of, and there are consequences for every action, and overstimulating your brain and opening up. Our brains are extremely compartmentalized. Our brains, our minds, our beings are extremely compartmentalized. And that's why if you go on these massively intense spiritual journeys, or if you take a massive amount of hallucinogens, specifically on dimethyltryptamine or a lot of LSD, when you come back, it's almost like a dream that fades really, really fast.
Yes.
And so, when I've done experiences with soul travel and with DMT and LSD, I've had to record the experience right as soon as I come out of the state. Otherwise, it'll just flee from me, because your mind really puts up these blocks. It needs things that it can understand in order for you to exist in this society, in this world. which hopefully that's going to be an evolutionary leap that we take, is that we're able to engage more of our minds and still, adapt our society to be able to accommodate that. But that's just not where we're at now. So there is that danger for sure. I don't want to give anybody the impression that you can go, leap into astral abysses and into the heart of the eternal and not have any repercussions. Because there are definitely which the adjustment period between the experience and then being able to basically readjust yourself in life and how you approach life. There is a definite adjustment period there. The benefits, of course, are a broader, wider, deeper view of what's going on and a better ability to have autonomous control over your existence. So for me, the benefit outweighs the risk, but there is risk involved.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thank you for bringing that up, EA. But let me ask you this, because you brought up remote viewing, and that's something I'm familiar with as well. But see, this is the thing. As you mentioned, our brains are so compartmentalized, and this is the way I feel about it. When I'm in these different places or different states, I got to be honest with you, I don't know where the heck I am. And I don't even know if the words that we're using to describe it are actually the proper terminology. Because you're kind of in the same state and kind of the same effects and repercussions on your body. So what is the difference between remote viewing and soul travel?
Well, remote viewing is basically you're still in your body. You're still located, in your physical location in three dimensions, but you're able to receive impressions from a distant location. And that distant location in remote viewing is almost always the physical plane. Sometimes it's the astral plane, but almost always physical for some sort of temporal benefit. But when you're soul traveling, you 100% transfer your consciousness and your being into the higher states. And that's one thing that even separates soul travel from something like astral projection. Astral projection only goes to basically the next available spiritual realm, which is very, very close to Earth and often overlaps the physical realm. So with soul travel, you're actually going to go further beyond that, where you go into the causal and mental states, into the formative states, soul planes. You basically get a good deal of my system of soul travel is derived from the teachings of just about every spiritual master that's existed who has taught soul travel and have enumerated and revealed these various levels of spiritual existence, which is basically breaking down of the departments and compartmentalizations that exist not only within ourselves but also in the world around us, where you can get into more and more subtle realities where divisions between things become more and more blurred until all things are one heartbeat emanating from the same source.
Almost where you can be in several different places at once.
Well, yeah, that's definitely one of my assertions with soul travel is that you can become omnipresent. That you can be everywhere at once and experience everything at once, and along with that, you'll also gain omniscience. You can know all things. If you're everywhere at once, then you have knowledge of all the things that you're inside of, that you're imbuing, that you're surrounding. And that's not just that's also spread out among the fourth dimension of time. That you're everywhere at once at every time that's ever existed. We've got this linear concept of time that runs along a line, and it's proposed that time instead is a loop. And I see it more when you get into these states of deep soul travel, that time and space becomes a single point, a dot, that you eliminate any kind of representation of travel at all, because all things converge into a single point.
Okay, very good description. Let me ask you this, though. It's something you brought up last time you were on the show, and then we had a bunch of callers, so we didn't get back to it. In regards to spiritual realms, you made a statement saying that hell is basically a higher realm than this plane we're on. So, and I know it might sound shocking to some, but I'd love for you to elaborate on that and why that is.
Well, yeah. If you look at the way that existence lays itself out, basically you have the most fine and the most subtle matter, which is light and sound, that's emanating from one source. And as that moves farther away from that source of emanation, it'll basically become more and more dense and solidified. And so there are stages that this energy, this power will take on as it's traveling further away from the source, which you can say that these are different states of beings, different spiritual states, different planes. However you want to term it, that's kind of how a lot of these spiritual disciplines have segregated the whole matter, is by looking at the stages that takes in its solidification. And the final stage of solidity is the physical plane. It does not get more solid than this. And so if you want to go to any place that's not solid, which hell would not be a solid place at all, it would be a spiritual state, that would be one step closer, one step inward towards that divine emanation. So,
okay.
Yeah,
all right. Well, you said spiritual state. Does that mean? I mean, is it a real place, or is it a state of mind?
Well, states of mind are real places. A good teacher of mine, although I never met him personally, is Terence McKenna, and he speaking with Art Bell once, he said that the human imagination is as solid as the real estate you're standing on, and that at some point humans will make a mass migration into the human imagination. So if you can imagine it, I mean, it exists completely, and that's not just a new age feel good philosophy. This is quantum physics and the holographic universe I'm talking about. This is a verified and substantial fact that your observations determine your reality. And to the very electrons. I mean, we're not talking about a feel-good philosophy that exists only in New Age thinking. This is, what's verified with quarks and with electrons is that it all shifts as soon as it's observed. So if your state of mind is geared towards a place of suffering and internal agony, that's spiritually where you're going to be, and not even necessarily after your death either. I mean, so it
may not be the full reality, but it's certainly real as one is experiencing it. So whether it's, on a different plane, or you're here physically and there's a whole bunch of boogeymen, taunting you and the way you choose to perceive that, right?
Yeah. It gets really kind of mucky when you start getting into quantum physics, because basically that which you observe it becomes your reality, but at the same time we have what I call generational and racial observations, which are that people in a similar culture and a similar generation are going to have the same observation of reality, which is why stoplights are red and the sky is blue and rocks are hard and water's not. We all share these observations, and it's what our collective unconscious deems as being solidly real. So in that way, a place like hell or heaven, or you could look at any of the religious paradigms, spiritual states. These all exist in a very, very real way, in an objectively real way, as they're being observed by the mass consciousness. One interesting experiment that I did is I created what's called an astral temple, where you go on the astral plane and you use your spiritual will to erect a temple that is visibly you put visible wards on all the walls, and you can make it whatever color you want, whatever size you want. And so I made one of these on the astral plane, and went to visit it a few times just to make sure that nothing had changed, and kind of reassert my will over that structure.
Okay, I'm sorry, EA. Hold that right there. It is that time. We're going to come right back and hear more about this astral temple when we return after this short break. Stay tuned. EA Koetting on Truth Brigade Radio.
Now you and your family and friends can enjoy the cleanest, most delicious, and healthy drinking water anytime, even while traveling, camping, at sporting events, or in emergency situations. The Berkey removes bacteria, cysts, parasites, and harmful chemicals to below detectable levels. It also reduces nitrates and unhealthy minerals like lead and mercury, while leaving in the beneficial and nutritional minerals your body needs. Berkey is so powerful, it can even purify raw, untreated water from remote lakes and streams. And the optional PF2 filters even remove fluoride. The Berkey LED, with its rechargeable lighting system, can be used as a nightlight or a camp light. To view or purchase your Berkey water system and replacement filters, please visit American Freedom Radio's website at AmericanFreedomRadio.com and click the Berkey banner. Once again, that's AmericanFreedomRadio.com and click the Berkey water banner. Not yet available in Iowa.
The First Amendment in the Bill of Rights limits the government's power by ensuring freedom of speech and preserves the rights of the people. Every day that passes, our rights gradually slip away. It's time to take a stand and let the government know that we are tired of losing our rights. LibertyStickers.com will allow you to express your rights and allow millions of people to see you stand up for what you believe in. LibertyStickers.com carries the largest selection of bumper stickers online, ranging from political to humorous. As always, you can find your favorite stickers that protest the war and the president. Don't see what you're looking for? Liberty Stickers will custom make stickers that will get your message across for all Americans to see. Go to LibertyStickers.com and see pre-made stickers that will get everyone talking. That's LibertyStickers.com, or call 877-873-9626. Liberty Stickers, the world's most dangerous stickers.
Get free of harmful chemicals in your lawn, garden, or farm. Use the products proven to work and restore vigor to your important food crops. Increase hay yields, as well as oils in seeds and grain. Check out AgGrand Natural Organic Fertilizers on our website, liquidorganicfertilizer.com. Learn how AgGrand's liquid organic fertilizers reduce costs while increasing yields. The products work great as a foliar feed and help offset problems caused by poor soil conditions. Call us at 1-800-579-0580 for more info. Converting to organic is fun and easy and is the best choice for your heirloom seeds. Take advantage of our liquid lime, sulfate of potash with kelp, liquid bone meal, and the Menhaden fish 433 loaded with micronutrients. If you want better tomatoes, visit liquidorganicfertilizer.com. That is liquidorganicfertilizer.com for your garden, lawn, and farm.
Welcome to the world's meeting place. American.
Practically narcotic.
Freedom.
Oh, yes. I like very much.
Radio.
You're an American institution.
American Freedom Radio.
Truth Brigade Radio. Live Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Only on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. The truth has just gotten hotter.
Welcome back. Thanks so much for joining us here tonight. Truth Brigade on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. Our special guest tonight, E.A. Koetting. We are talking about soul travel and alternate realities. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to give us a call at 402-237-2525. And if you'd like to join us on the text chat, that's over at truthbrigade.com. And there's a lot of questions in the chat. I'm copying them. I'm going to try to get to all of them as soon as humanly possible. But if you would, EA, please continue. You were talking about the astral temple that you built.
Yeah. And it was basically an astral structure just for me to go. Yeah, and this is part of my experience with Austin Osman Spare's system of chaos magic. And so it was just for me to go to astrally and to conduct, non-rituals not in a physical state. So the purpose really wasn't for anybody else to peek in on this, but where the experiment got really interesting is when I had a student of mine that I mentioned that I constructed this astral temple, and he basically went there. He astral projected and went to this place, drew a little sketch of it, and then wrote down a bunch of descriptions of what he saw there, and then returned with an exact description of what I had constructed. And to me, it seemed like it was something that could pretty easily be an extreme projection of my own imagination or psyche or whatever. Mm-hmm. But a third person was able to go and verify that, and that was 12 years ago or more. And that was kind of when this whole journey started taking on a real solid form. When it was this isn't just a projection of my psyche or my consciousness or some way for me to work out my own issues through some sort of visualization, but that it became a very, very real thing because it could be verified by somebody else completely without any coaching as to what he may or may not see there. This was 100% his experiment. So reality, being something that can be manipulated strongly is an understatement when it gets to that point where, yeah, heaven and hell exist, and so many people believe in it, and does the belief in it or the creation of that itself make that a reality?
Okay, very, very good point. Oh my gosh, you're jogging a lot of questions. And, I just want to say I did an experiment similar to yours, and we were actually, we did one. I'll just talk about the night we did right here on the text chat on the show. I was trying to describe a memory that I really wasn't sure if it was a physical memory, an astral memory, or remote viewing memory. And I was trying to describe it, but you know how when we're kind of out of that state, we tend to grasp at things that we think we know to try to describe it. So I just gave up, and the experimentee in the chat just said, you know what, just project it to me. Can you visualize it? Yeah, okay, so we'll do it that way. So I did. I just sat there and visualized it right here on the text chat in front of everyone, and then she started describing my exact memory that we don't even know where it came from. So I know the projection and such is extremely real, but I wanted to ask you this from the last segment when you were talking about how our observations and experiences make our reality or whatever we're experiencing real, and you mentioned different colors and stop signs being red. Would the stop sign be red if we weren't given that a label?
Okay, well, labels are important. Now, also, this is I'm working a lot of this theory out on myself right now, and I'm really studying the science of quantum physics pretty heavily to try to work this out and figure it out. And the main question that I keep returning to is where did the where did the programming come from initially? Because, you know, once the program was set in place, we can all agree that red is red and green is green. We can agree that a rock is solid and water is not. But, you know, what set that original program in place? And the only feasible answers that I've been able to come up with are way out there. I mean, where I've really got to start looking at some of the work of people like Michael Sarion, where he looks at the fact that perhaps the human race was a clone from extraterrestrials, and we broke away from the slavery that we were under, or Zechariah Sitchin, where we were once ruled by a reptilian race, and perhaps that master race that preceded us implanted this, and that they themselves were quantum traveling entities that trapped us here by giving us the observation of three dimensions. I've got these questions kind of jumbling in my head, and the answers are really spookier than the questions themselves, because it really does raise a lot of these questions where the questions raise more questions, really.
Yes.
And so we know from scientific observation that our reality is very illusory, and that it's very malleable as well. That merely by observing your reality in a different way, it will react and change itself, to the point where you have what's called in the occult the philosopher's stone, where you can transmute metals from one substance to another, and that you can have any object materialize in front of you out of thin air. And really, this is not a stretch when you start looking into quantum physics. So we can all agree on that, really, because that is the basis of quantum physics, where science is now heading. But what's still the question is, where did it all originate from? If reality is dictated by observations, where did that original observation originate?
Exactly. Okay. Well, there's a few questions that I think that are kind of on that topic, but regarding, we were talking about hell or heaven being a real place, and so technically it's there, but perhaps not what we're told. Well, gosh, I don't even want to say the Bible, because there's how many tens of thousands of them rewritten. But I'll just say, I've been talking with some people on YouTube and getting beat up a little bit, because I guess I'm really blind and deaf and dumb to real God. And, these people will say, all of this stuff we're talking about is garbage. But if you don't believe exactly the way they do, then, God's just going to, burn you in this living hell, and you're going to be tortured for the rest of your life. But at the same time, they're denying that there is an afterlife from the start. So, I guess essentially you're saying that the heaven and hell, as we choose to see them, are real, but not perhaps what we've been sold through various religions.
Well, it's true. They're real as much as any illusion is real. It's just another level of the illusion.
Like government or countries or.
Well, yeah, government, countries, religion. If the spin of an electron is an illusion, which it is by quantum physics, the spin of an electron is an illusion, then really that brings everything else into question. Let alone the invisible friends that we might pray to. So, that's fine and dandy for people to believe what they believe, and from me, if your religion and your spirituality is practical for you, if you're able to use that to make change for the good in your life and in the lives of others and in your world as a whole, that's awesome, and I really don't care who you pray to or what you do. But what you really see is that people who struggle to convert others and to accuse others of being wrong are really struggling with themselves, with their own faith. Because, the people who have perfect conviction in what they understand to be real, they really don't feel the need to preach. They really don't feel the need to hammer it into others. That's really coming from a place of unsurety on their part.
Yeah,
so
insecurity, absolutely.
Yeah, and you know, and I know plenty of Christians who have that faith so strong that they really don't feel the need to hammer me with it. We can hang out, we can be friends, and we can disagree, and that's okay, because they really understand what, you know, reality, and they understand their reality as they understand it. So, you know, my affirming that they're correct has nothing to do with their faith. So, you know, that's really where I see a lot of that coming from, is a place of unsurety.
I agree. Very well said, E.A. Here's another question that came up when we were talking, well, a few questions that came up when you were talking about finite points. The first one is there a relative point associated with closeness of the Creator and or a distance away from the Creator?
Okay, I'm sorry. Is there a relative point between the two?
Yeah, I guess he's asking, is there a relative point associated with the closeness of the Creator or a distance away from the Creator? So maybe what he's asking is, because we were talking about the different realms of heaven or hell, perhaps maybe he's saying, you know, the higher realms are closer to the Creator and the lower realms are further away?
You know, not
I guess
not
we'd have to
really.
define what or who the Creator is, though.
Right, you do have to define what the Creator is, because, you know, if you look at Jehovah, that's just one creator of one mythology, and you've got all these others. So yeah, and you really do need to look at the structure of the spiritual worlds, because it's not just heaven and hell. Those are both. I guess you say places in the astral plane. So both would be on equal ground as far as closeness to the original source.
Okay. The next one is, what does it mean if you saw the finite point that you talked about earlier as hell?
Well, I'm sorry, what would happen if you saw it?
Yes. He says, what does it mean if you saw it?
Well, I'm guessing that question comes from the fact that this gentleman has seen that, has caught a glimpse of what you would consider to be hell. And really all that means is that in that moment, for some reason, you were attuned to that state. That I'm not sure why, but yeah, for some reason you were attuned to that state, and that's where your mind went and drew your vision into. So I don't know that it really has any huge ominous meaning, although it might. But I mean, that could really vary quite a bit depending on whatever circumstances are going on.
Okay. All right. Well, if they want to call in and share that with us, and, you know, maybe we can go a little bit deeper. The next question, EA, is, are there states of consciousness above cosmic consciousness?
Yes, and that's an excellent question. That is an excellent question, because in most Eastern religions, and especially the various New Age branches of these Eastern religions, it's considered that if you reach what's called cosmic consciousness or universal consciousness, that your mind is connected to all other minds. That would be omnipotence, omnipresence, and omniscience right there, and that's not really the case, because mind itself is still an illusion. You're still dealing in the illusory world. You're still dealing with Maya if you're looking at mind at all. If you, when you actually break from mind, that's one teaching in soul travel, is that after a certain point you have to drop mind. So you have to stop analyzing, stop thinking, stop interpreting, and just receive, just experience without any real observation. And this is what, you know, the Buddhists will call the witness, and in Hinduism they would call the Atman, where you're completely non-attached from that which you're observing, and therefore making no judgments or really secondary observations of it. And that does go beyond cosmic consciousness. That takes you into a realm of what you call soul consciousness. It's not God consciousness, because you haven't yet identified you with the source of all things. You haven't yet become that. But you're getting very, very close.
That makes a lot of sense, EA, but it is that time. Hold that right there. We will be right back. Truth Brigade Radio. Thanks so much for joining us here tonight. Truth Brigade on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. We are discussing soul travel and alternate realities with EA Koetting tonight. And EA, we kind of just jumped into things, and I didn't get to thank you for being able to join us. I know you just had a birthday, and you're on the road, and, you know, that whole last-minute thing, and still being able to work it out to be here with us tonight. So I want to thank you properly.
Thank you for having me on. You know, it's great, and I would never pass up an opportunity if I can to get on and talk with y'all and have a good conversation.
Awesome. Okay, did you want to follow up on the last question, what you were discussing?
I'm sorry, could you remind me of where I was at on that? I kind of have a tendency to go.
You were answering the question about the states of consciousness above cosmic consciousness and becoming one, releasing judgment, how we should be able to view or just observe these things without any attachments or labels or judgments towards it.
Yeah, and really to drop all mental processes, that's really the key to breaking through with soul travel. You know, you can visit these places and whatever, but you get to a point where what you're experiencing, and I think you hinted at this earlier, that the way you start experiencing is beyond words, beyond images, beyond anything that your intellectual mind can comprehend, and so there's the desire to try to put that into some kind of intellectual or conscious frame of thought, so you can wrap your head around it. But really, there's a point you get to, you just got to stop trying to wrap your head around it altogether. You've got Buddhists and Hindus that when they reach a certain level, and this is what they recognize to be beyond cosmic consciousness, they will take a vow of silence because the words are completely impotent at that point. So yeah, cosmic consciousness is what I would consider the beginning of a journey, but it's just the beginning. It's not the end result.
Okay. Here's the question on the chat, EA. And I have to admit I was a little bit hesitant to read it, but I will read it as is. I am truly curious, what makes EA an authority on this subject? I have no argument, just if I was a first-time listener, why should I take what EA is saying serious? And please don't beat me up.
Oh, yeah, I don't want to beat anybody up, but no, that's a fair question. What makes me an authority? That's the question I actually ask myself quite a bit is, why do I have this information? And I've got to tell you, I read a lot, and I study a lot, and I've been pretty disappointed with what I found in a lot of books, because to me I'm experiencing things and learning things that to me seem quite obvious, but is really not being talked about. And when you get into evocation, we've talked about the book I've got coming out, Evoking Eternity, where I get into some intense truths and understandings about it that people just aren't hinting at. And I've seen that my whole life, where I'm learning things, and things once again make just primary sense to me that nobody else seems to be saying. And if they are, they're veiling it in some kind of mystical mumbo jumbo that doesn't make it really usable. And I think that's really the core of the answer that I'd have to give, is that like I said, the proof is in the pudding. It's one of those things where when you actually put what I'm saying into practical application, the truth of it is really undeniable. And really, from what I'm seeing with a lot of what I've studied, that often that's not so much the case with a lot who are out there, giving these different opinions and theories. For me, it really has to be practical. You have to be able to take it and put your hands on it and use it and see substantial change occurring through it in order for it to be really valuable at all, in my opinion. And so, I'm talking about these things, but I'm not talking about them, where we get into soul travel and these various states of being from an armchair. I'm talking about this from somebody who experiences this on a daily basis. And you know, in the books that I have out and the books that are forthcoming, I don't really hold back anything as far as how each person is able to get themselves into these states and to really produce the miraculous if they do so. And I have countless emails and letters and such from people who do put my works into practice, and it's just absolute praise. The main group that I have who actually look at my works and are still hesitant after they read what I've written and they hear what I have to say are those who don't put it into practice. Because everybody who actually sits down and uses this goes, oh my God, this is it. So yeah, that's really the division right there.
Division. I'm glad you said that. And you said you brought up judgment earlier, which I think is really important to talk about. Now, is it necessary that we release our judgment or ego or whatever it is limiting us in our self-imposed prisons in order to experience these alternate states?
Well, you know, you can start experiencing the alternate states right away. And, you know, you can do that through basic meditation techniques, basic soul travel techniques, which are, you know, if you want to learn how to soul travel, basically you have to sit and you know, what I say, jump out of your body. So the way I teach people to do it is you sit in a chair, kind of dim the lights, make yourself comfortable, and look at an object across the room. And
okay, EA, I'm so sorry to cut you off right there. Seems like it happens all the time, but it's break. Got to pay bills. I've finished this. We will continue this when we return at the top of the second hour here, so stay tuned, everyone. EA Koetting on Truth Brigade Radio. Back, top of the second hour here tonight with EA Koetting, and I don't want to waste any time here because we have a short one, so EA, please, if you could just pick up where you left off. I think you got cut off at... you were giving us practical methods for soul travel. You said sit in the room and look at an object across the room, and that's where we left off.
Right, yeah. Well, you know, I do have to preface that by kind of bringing people up to speed where, you know, you do have your various brainwave states that are measured, and, you know, most of the time you'll be in beta or alpha, which are, you know, just your active brainwave states as you're going about your life or studying or doing something actively with your mind, or even if you're just sitting and watching TV, you're in either beta or alpha brainwave states. And then when you drop into sleep, you go into delta, and that's you know, black sleep. That's where dreams happen, where you hit sleep paralysis. As you're moving into delta, though, you pass really, really quickly through what's called a theta state, theta brainwave state. And when you're in theta state, if you're able to hold that, and that's the point where you might, as you're falling asleep, experience hypnagogic hallucinations, where it's like a miniature dream, and often people will fall when they, you know, they'll have a dream that they're, you know, skating or skiing or doing something, and they'll feel like they fall and they jolt back awake, and that's in that hypnagogic hallucination state, and that's at the very bottom end of theta brainwaves. And you can reach that same state through hypnosis, meditation, even musical trance induction. And if you're able to hold it, they start seeing that triggers gamma brainwave states, which are off the charts from 60 to 200 hertz, which was before unheard of to be produced by your brain. And, you know, I'm kind of just quickly going over these, just so people know that you do have to get yourself into that theta state before you're able to experience any of these altered states, because they do all originate from that theta, those theta and gamma brainwave states. So you do that through basic meditation is what I would teach, where you do what in Hinduism is pranayama, control of breath and control of vital force, where you focus all of your attention on your breath. And you don't have to count the seconds for each breath or anything silly like that. You just turn your attention to your natural breath and let yourself breathe. And before you know it, you'll start feeling almost like you're about to fall asleep, but you linger on the outskirts of sleep, and that is the theta state. And at some point in that theta state, you'll feel like you'll feel your equilibrium completely fall away. You'll feel as if the floors dropped out from beneath you, and you'll even feel the kinesthetic sensation of moving through space. And it's really, really common in meditation, especially before when you're first beginning meditation, to have that experience. And that's a sure sign that you are indeed in the theta state. And from that theta state, you're going to sit in a chair and close your eyes and visualize an object across the room, an object that actually does exist physically. And basically, this is so simple that it's amazing. Is that you'll push your vision, you'll push your awareness towards that object with an exhalation of breath. So you're going to breathe out, and as you breathe out, you'll travel towards that object across the room, and you'll observe it, and it'll be a split second, and then you.
Oh, EA, I'm sorry. It's that time again. Hold that right there. We're going to be right back. And I see we have some callers on the line. Thank you so much for your patience. Stay tuned. Be right back. EA Koetting on Truth Brigade Radio. Tonight, Truth Brigade on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. If you would like to join us for the text chat tonight, that's over at truthbrigade.com. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to give us a call at 402-237-2525. That's 402-AFR-2525. Soul Travel and Alternate Realities tonight with E.A. Koetting. He is an author, teacher, healer, and his Evoking Eternity, which was previously sold out, was recently re-released yesterday, right, E.A.?
You know what? Actually, it was not. We went ahead and delayed. Yeah, we went ahead and delayed that. The printing process was right on track. Everything was right on track. But as Lila Publications and I, talk more and more about it, there are some promotional events we really want to do for the release of the book that we had to wait until May. So it'll be out May 1st, which is Walpurgis Day. So it's the day after Walpurgis Nacht, one of the supposedly the most sinister, energetic days in the year, which just seemed kind of fitting, but. We're planning some great different promotional things that we're going to do for the release of the book. So it just had to wait a couple months, but it'll be out May 1st, and we're going to do some awesome stuff for it.
Okay, and so that'll be over. I guess pre-orders still available then at Lilah.org. That's LEILAH.org. And then, of course, Ipsissimus will be your next book where you're going to go into very deep and heavy about the topics we're talking tonight and your last couple visits here. But EA, we have a caller on the line. Let me ask you this, though. Did you want to finish up before we start callers?
Yeah, basically it is the fact that you're gonna jump out of your body and it's something that you're only going to do for a split second at first, and then it's through repetition that you're going to be able to solidify that and keep yourself outside of your body, and really from there you can travel anywhere. It's really limitless at that point. And, and I do definitely go into more detail in this in Ipsissimus, even a little bit in Evoking Eternity, and then in Questing After Visions, which is available on Amazon.com right now.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
Questing After Visions is available on Amazon.
That's right.
Okay.
So yeah, this is like I said, this is all usable and practical. I don't really get into the, just sitting and theorizing about things. I really want to get to the heart of how do you put this into practice, because that's what's important to me. And so, yeah, this is something you can sit down, you can actually do. This isn't something that, I am a chosen one that can do this stuff. This is available to anyone. This is really the quintessence of what I'm trying to get out there to people, is that I haven't tapped into anything unique, because it's available to anybody at any time. And this is the prophecy, the state of prophecy, of revelation, and of being able to alter your environment through completely non-physical means.
Okay. All right. And hopefully we'll get to go into a little bit more of that later, but we should get into callers. Our first call tonight is area code 712. Welcome to the show.
Hello, am I on?
You loud and clear. How you doing tonight?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
Great, thank you.
Good. Yeah, how you doing?
You know, I'm fair. I'm doing all right. I kind of jumped on the broadcast a little haphazardly, but I think it's going good so far.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good so far. When was your birthday? Just out of curiosity.
When was my birthday?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was March 14th. So just yesterday.
Happy birthday. Mine was on March 7th. So.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Pisces.
Well, I wanted to kind of tell you about my experience, and maybe you can go a little bit from there. But you were talking a little bit about that theta stuff. I constantly have that feeling where, like, even when I'm walking, it feels like I'm walking into the ground to the point where I feel like I'm going to fall flat on my face, like just like pass out or whatever, almost like where I'll hit my shin on the floor. I also think that has a lot to do with like being able to take your hand and make it feel like going through walls and stuff. They seem to be related for me because I have that feeling at a constant basis. I can do it right now at will. Anytime I want to do that, I can do that.
No, what is interesting is that, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but what is interesting is that, like you said, you walk down the street and have this happen, is that a lot of times when people are getting into spiritual progress, they'll take on a really strict diet, a really strict restrictive diet. They'll try to eat only whole foods and whatever. And what people find is that as they're getting into soul travel and they're starting to access this theta state more and more often, that it almost gets to be spontaneous, where you say you can do it at will, but there are also times where you do it not at will, where it just happens. And so I've actually known some yogis and some spiritual travelers who they'll start to think they're being sucked into that spiritual realm and put into the theta state a little too spontaneously. So they'll start eating junk food, smoking cigarettes, listen to music as loud as they possibly can, anything to try to anchor them in this world. And it is a really interesting dynamic there, because when it happens without full complete will over it, then it can be a bit startling and is very disruptive to being able to live a normal life. And it's never something that needs to be tempered.
That happens quite a bit. I'll call them attacks, like where I'm getting attacked. That's kind of how I've always thought of them. I have that happen to me quite a bit, sometimes on a daily basis. And recently I've been having them a lot more. The last week or so I haven't had it come up as much. But, I mean, it is a little fearsome to me because I'll tell you a little bit about my experience. You talked a little bit about drugs and how this can induce that. This was back actually in the fall of 2000, in November 2000, I was smoking marijuana with some of my friends, and I remember going into this room, and there's a window, and I think I'd had dreams about this room before. And I went in there, and we were in a group of people, and we were smoking high of a bong. All of a sudden, that kind of theta state where it hit me, where I got like everything, and it kind of like knocked me back. And I feel like something that you consider like most people would think of as like a demonic possession. Okay. And it's very intense. When I went in this, I saw like a collage of people or a collage of everything going down like a funnel to a finite point. And that was like, it was like an experience of going to hell, getting crushed. That point, I asked the question earlier about the finite point, and that's what I kind of saw as hell. Now, from there, I was able to break through that finite point, right? Or get pulled up out of it. And what I did, at the time, I was concentrating on Jesus and calling out for him, because at the time I was a Christian, and I had associated Jesus, with love. And at that point, I broke through it, and I went on to into complete purity. All love, nothing but love. So I saw white light, and it was, you know, what you would probably consider higher dimension.
Okay. Yeah, that's, you know, and that's, you do have people who have these connections, or have these spontaneous visions of different places, and really what's interesting to see is that, and I do go over this in Questing After Visions, is that a lot of the, you know, when I talk about dropping analyses when we're in these states, really when you look at a lot of the visions, a lot of it will have these spiritual and religious, more religious overtones that seem to be inserted into the whole process after the fact, where, you know, you saw this and you know, you didn't have Virgil by your side saying this is hell, but that's an assumption that was drawn,
yeah.
And you know, not completely, you know, incorrectly, but it is an assumption that later on you're like, well, that must have been hell. Well, you know, okay, you know, terms really aren't defined so clearly in the astral world, because there are a lot of places that could definitely, you know, appear to be what Christians would consider hell. So yeah, why you were drawn there, I really don't know. The emotional state that you were in, intensified by the marijuana or whatnot. There could be a million different factors. So yeah.
Okay, now the other thing is like that final state that I was in, like good, you know, the higher level. You know, that's something that the beginning stages, I associate that with like the theta part that you were talking about earlier. Mm-hmm. But every time I go into that theta state, a lot of times I get there, I get pulled into that unwillingly, or I can do it if I want to. But I kind of, I can't, I don't feel like I can get too deep in that state because of the experience I had. And see, to me, it's kind of like that's something you have to go through. You have to go through that finite point to get to the other side. You have to get through that. It's like you have to get through the negative. I had to let go of ego, everything, and just go for that. I mean, because doing something like that in a room of people, you really do have to let go of ego. And that's what it took to get to that next stage. It's kind of hard for me to do that now because I don't want to go through all that negative to get there. And so I'm looking for like a simpler method to get back.
Well, you know, if you look back at your description of what you experienced, you didn't necessarily have to go through the negative to get to the positive. You know, there's no natural law that says you have to do that. But for you, you weren't going to call on, you know, at the time you were a Christian, so you weren't just going to naturally call on Jesus until you felt there was a threat there. So that was basically just the emotional catalyst for you. So basically, all you would have to do is get yourself to a similar state of mind where you focus with all of your will on something more positive, and that's where you're going to find yourself ending up. It was just that you needed that catalyst to kind of connect the dots for you.
Okay. So that was kind of like a crutch at first, like to the first experience. Is what you're talking about.
I'm sorry, I missed that last part.
We were talking about like I use that as kind of a crutch almost.
Yeah. Well, you know, you weren't at that point for whatever reason. You weren't just going to be, you know, spontaneously call out to Jesus Christ to you know, come get you. You had to be in a place of extreme threat, and then call upon, you know, and that's actually pretty common. That's pretty common. People for the most part don't just sit around and go, hey, you know, I think I'm going to call on Jesus Christ and go visit, you know, the heavenly worlds today. So. Yeah, it's a pretty common thing to need to be in that place of perceived threat to do something like that. But you don't have to wait for that. If you want to experience something of extraordinarily positive spiritual reality, you just have to attune yourself to that.
Okay, so it'd be like when I go into that theta state and I'm meditating, just go straight to the positive and just concentrate on that with all your might.
Yeah, you know, one practice that I've used and this has helped me go to various levels of spiritual realization, is to meditate, enter the theta state, and then meditate on the image of a specific spiritual master. And like I said, I've drawn my experience, my teachings from the various spiritual masters throughout history, and so I just take a piece of art that portrays that spiritual master, put it in front of me, and focus on that, and feel myself drawn towards that emotionally, psychically, and then as I project myself, I find myself with that master, and usually on some other plane, and then the journey really starts from there. So yeah, that's the basic thing. If you're still Christian, you could easily do that with an image of Christ.
Okay. Well, yeah, I know we're on radio now. I'd like to talk to you maybe sometime, maybe off air, maybe get a little bit more in depth with some of that.
I've got Facebook that I try to be pretty active on, so you can go ahead and hit me up there, and if I've got time to respond to stuff, I definitely try to take the time to do that.
Okay.
Awesome. All right. Well, great questions and great call, and I'll put the link to Facebook in the text chat.
Okay. Awesome. Hey, thanks.
All right. Thanks so much. Have a good night. All right. Our next caller tonight is area code 310. Welcome to the show.
Hello? Hello.
Hi there.
Hi. First of all, Christie, I'd like to tell you how much I enjoy your show and all the guests that you have. I think you have really great guests with lots of great things to say.
Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate that.
So a little bit about me. I'm in school for energy healing in California, and we're learning to develop our subtle senses and everything. You were talking about sleep paralysis a little bit ago. I've had sleep paralysis throughout my whole life, and it was terrifying at first, and the more I got into it, the more I try to settle into it, but intellectually, as I go to sleep, I can tell myself all I want, settle into it, it's going to be fine, but when it's actually happening, the breath is tight and constricted, and all I want to do is, shock myself out of it.
Let me interrupt you by asking, do you also dream lucidly, or have you looked into that process?
I actually I dream lucidly, or I'd say semi-lucidly, where I realize I'm in a dream, and I have somewhat control over it, but not always complete control. Some things happen beyond my ability to control it, but a lot of times I'll be like, oh, I'm in a dream. Okay, I'm going to fly now. And I'll just start flying around, and sometimes it's a little precarious, and sometimes I'll wake up and, want to even try to fly in the real world because it felt so, natural and so, easy, and, I could still remember the mechanisms I used in my dream to achieve the flying.
Right. I asked that because, occasional sleep paralysis happens to people. It just does. But ongoing sleep paralysis, I've seen has a little link to.
Okay, I'm so sorry, gentlemen. We're out of time, but if you want to hang on the line, we'll bring you back up to continue this after this short break. So hold on the line and stay tuned. All right, welcome back. Thanks for joining us here tonight. Truth Brigade on AmericanFreedomRadio.com with our special guest tonight, E.A. Koetting, talking about soul travel and alternate realities. And he said Questing After Visions you can find on Amazon, but Evoking Eternity or Ipsissimus you will have to go to lila.org and wait for the re-release. That's LEILAH.org. Evoking Eternity coming out May 1st. So sorry for my confusion earlier in the show saying it was yesterday. But we still have our caller on the line, area code 310. So, gentlemen, please continue. Excellent questions, by the way.
Yeah, the point that I want to make, and I apologize for interrupting you harshly there, but is that often when people encounter something frightening like sleep paralysis or something along those lines, the first thing they want to do is make it stop. Well, what sleep paralysis is, in this case, or at least what it's a signal of, is that there's a mental activity that's going on that supersedes what the other processes involved in sleep. So basically, rather than just trying to dive into it when it comes, actually, I would probably even get more and more into lucid dreaming, actively trying to lucid dream. If you're already keeping a dream journal, that's great. Keep that up. Start looking for your dream signs. When you're in a dream, you'll have these cues that'll tell you that you are dreaming, and really start embracing the lucid dreaming process. And I'm not saying that this is going to take away your sleep paralysis, but that there's a process that perhaps is more important than getting rid of the sleep paralysis or making it less uncomfortable.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've always had a sense that if I were to just let myself relax into it and delve deeper, that I could actually break through to something really kind of cool.
Yeah.
At the time, in that state, it's like, it's just, as much as I try, and maybe if different meditations before I go to bed would help. Another question I had, I don't want to take up too much time.
No, you're fine.
Ever since I was a child, I've had this sensation, and even talking about it, it sounds odd to me, but I have a sense that at one time, I don't know, I guess it would be in a past life, I had a lot of power, an immense amount of power that was either taken from me or blocked to me. And, as long as I can remember, I've been interested in like the fantasy genre of reading and science fiction, and a part of me always felt that magic was a real possibility with the human mind. And I guess my question is, where could I start to really try to regain the power I feel I've lost?
Okay, yeah. Now, I want to go ahead and address this as if there's no reference to anything being in the past. Let's look at it all from the present tense.
Okay.
In the present, you recognize that you have the potential for massive power, perhaps omnipotent force, but you feel in the present that you're losing it, or that you're not embracing that fully, because really, when you get into past lives, past experiences, those are really difficult to quantify in any way because of the collective unconscious. You can tap into anybody's memories, really, and anybody's past lives. But you are very right that you indeed do have massive power, because we all do. We can all tap into this quantum field and can rearrange reality as we see fit. So where to begin with, really, to begin that whole process? I would say to follow your gut. You're onto something intuitively that's leading you, and so I'd really explore just inside yourself what you would like to learn, what you'd like to experience, and what avenue you'd like to take it down. Because really, when you get into the occult, there are many different facets and avenues that you can go down to experience things of an occult nature. So really, it's just a matter of picking and choosing, which direction you want to head with it. I would, though, say that the two most important spiritual arts that anybody can learn are soul travel and evocation. Soul travel, you're learning how to put yourself, how to project yourself into the very heart of existence, beyond the quantum mush, and into into really the organizing essence of all things. And with evocation doing quite the opposite. You're bringing something that is not physically real into physical reality, and are learning basically the secrets of the philosopher's stone, which is to create something out of nothing. And so those two occult arts, if you study those and master those, really there are no limits. And to go ahead and plug my book here in May, like I said, I've got in May 1st, I've got Evoking Eternity coming out that does teach the art of evocation more adeptly and more concisely than what I've seen in any other work. So I would suggest picking up a copy of that and really going for it, because that the art of evocation is possibly the most important occult art for somebody to learn.
Right. Okay. Cool. Well, thanks. Thanks for all that information.
Thank you.
And
very good. Thanks so much for your call.
Oh, thanks. And if you're ever in California, as I said, I am studying energy healing, so you can check me out at charliebonin.com. And if you're ever in California, I'd love to give you a free energy session.
Oh, wow. Thanks so much. Say the website again, though. I heard Charlie
Bonin, BONNIN, B as in boy, N as in Nancy.
NNIN.com.
Are you going to be able to post that somewhere, Christie? I'd like to check that out when I have a chance.
I will. I'll pull that up right here and stick it in the text chat. Thanks again
in the LA
for your
area
call.
that would like to
and I really feel you there, and I mean both the callers, because I've experienced all of these things myself. And we were just talking in the text chat how. Well, I guess I brought up, the reason I really love this show is because it kind of brings like minds together, and people that, these experiences we talk about, we're not really allowed to talk about in public comfortably without being judged, and so many of us spend our whole lives thinking we're completely alone. So I just think it's really beautiful that we have so much participation and people calling in and sharing real things that are going on with all of us, whether we're ready to admit it or not. So I just want to say I appreciate you all.
Well, I'll tell you something, Chris. You do have, and I'm sure just about every time I specifically come on the show, there are people who really, are rallying against it and whatever. And there's, I do put myself out there to be more aligned with the left-hand path than any other. But really, when you get to the core of these experiences, that's what it's about to me, is the experiences. And we that are on these shows and the listeners that are calling in, listeners that are listening and on the text chat are experiencing some of the very same things. What's interesting to me is that it's not just a few of us out there. That this is a growing momentum in the world of change on a very essential level.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and I mean, we're all in this together, and it's just wonderful to see how we're all the same, and whether we call ourselves left hand or right hand or Christian or Jew or whatever, it doesn't even matter, because we're all having the same experiences. And EA, having you on has really just kind of shattered not only mine but many others I hear from, their illusions of what those labels mean. And so I don't know, I just think it's wonderful to come together and share that. And I do just want to say, of people, and this is, I'm just speaking from my experience, there's people that call themselves Christians, and there's people that call themselves Satanist or left hand or whatever else. And I just want to say this, the ones that say that they're on the left-hand path or Luciferianism or whatever it is that, was demonized previously, were much more Christian-like than, I don't want to say every other Christian I've ever known, but it's up there, pretty much most of them. And anyways, I just think it's really remarkable that we're able to do this.
Right. Well, and what's of greater concern to me than being Christian or Buddhist or Satanist, or whatever, is really to be Christ-like and Buddha-like. And you look at these, I don't want to say Satan-like, because that's really not where I'm aiming for. But but you look at these great teachers throughout history, these spiritual masters, and their message is all the same, and it's all it all relates to really having the experience yourself, and really to having your own experience. You look at Jesus, and he was
without judgment.
Right. You look at somebody like Jesus, and he was perhaps the greatest anarchist of his time.
Yes.
So really, and you know, he wanted to overthrow the establishment, and so, you know, that's kind of the type of shadow of where we're at today, where we look at the establishment, we look at what's status quo, and well, damn it, it's just not good enough.
I love that you said that, because I say that all the time. Jesus was an anarchist when they try to throw in my face how, you know, the government or our gods and our protectors ordained by God, etc. And it's like, wait a minute, I think you're totally missing the message, but it's okay. We're all on our own path. So, you know, we have another caller on the line, EA. Our next caller tonight looks like our friend Danny. Danny, how you doing tonight?
Oh, hey, guys. I'm good. It's great to hear you guys talking about this stuff. I had a quick question about evocation. I don't come from a background of like ceremonial magic. I've always tried pretty hard to skirt around it because I just hate that stuff. I work with entities and I do magic and things like that. But I mean, basically, invocation versus evocation, is there really a difference?
Yes, there is. Well, for instance, one of the big differences, obviously, is that invocation, you're going to bring a spirit or an essence or a force inside of yourself, rather than bringing it into visible, audible manifestation in front of you. So that's the obvious difference. There's also the fact that with invocation, basically you're going to be filled with that essence, and you're going to be able to interpret it however you wish. With evocation, it's more of a subjective more of an objective experience rather than subjective, where you're going to bring the spirit up in front of you. You're going to be able to see it and hear it. And what's really kind of spooky is that a friend of mine and I were doing evocations of the same entity. And as I evoked him, I saw him and wrote down his description. And my friend and I compared notes that night, and it was the exact same description. That description does not appear in any grimoire or any book or anywhere at all. But we were able to see the exact same thing, hear the same voice, see the exact same details on that the spirit would have, and so what that really does in any kind of practical sense is that takes away the ability to I don't want to say twist, but to interpret what you're seeing, what you're experiencing. With invocation, it's really open to a good deal of interpretation as to what you're experiencing, what you're receiving. With evocation, you're bringing something that in no substantial empirical way is real into 100% objective reality. And for that reason alone, I would consider it one of the most important occult arts. Invocation, however, is not to be just completely overlooked, because that's really, you can't perform an evocation without first invoking,
Oh, I'm sorry. It's that time. Hold that right there, EA and Danny. We have a few minutes when we come back from this short break, so stay tuned. We will be right back. EA Koetting on Truth Brigade Radio. Thanks for joining us here tonight. Truth Brigade on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. This is the last segment with our special guest tonight, EA Koetting. And my, oh my, how time flies when you're having fun. We tried this topic 3 shows ago, didn't we, EA?
Yeah,
okay, well, let's do it again, and let's do another part, and we're going to get to it, and here we are just barely scratching the surface again and almost out of time. But I just want to thank you for this opportunity, and I'm just thinking, gee, maybe this should be a regular topic we talk about once a month, because it kind of seems never-ending. As you said before, each question kind of opens up even more questions.
Right. I mean, we're dealing with a living, breathing paradox when we get into the realm of the occult. So
So so it just can go, as far and as deep and as wide as you want to chase it. And that's part of the reason why I think that I come across so much of this information, because I chase that rabbit constantly, and the things I experience and learn are really astounding to me and give me a lot to sort out.
And you're a great teacher, and you explain it very well. So much gratitude to you. And I know we just have a few short minutes left, but Danny's still here on the line, so if you would, please continue.
Right. Now with invocation, and I don't necessarily mean to dismiss invocation as a lesser art or something less worthy of your time and attention. But it's a different route than I like to go, and really a good deal of what that is, and that may be a significator of the masculine need to have an objective experience to materialize something in the physical world, versus the feminine Shaktic nature of intuition and receiving. So really, it's a different path, and you can achieve very similar results. I really push evocation as something that people need to learn, mainly for the fact that you do learn in evocation how to manifest your desires and how to manifest that which is seemingly unreal in complete, three-dimensional reality. And that's a skill that can take you directly, like I said, into the Philosopher's Stone itself.
Mm.
Yeah, well, I want a piece of that, so I'm going to have to, despite my loathing of structure and ritual, get down to business. Take weeks or months for me to see results,
Mm.
Yeah. It's like a never-ending, it is never-ending. I mean, are we ever going to reach the end of this infinite knowledge? I don't think so. So I think we need to, instead of probably telling ourselves we're not doing enough, or we should be better, or we should be in a different spot on our path, maybe we should just learn to embrace where we are and allow it to flow.
Yeah, definitely, and I hope there never is an end to the learning process, because that's really the journey. The journey is the goal. So, just keep chasing it. For me, that's my thing. Is just keep chasing it wherever it leads, and sometimes there are dark caverns that leads you into, and sometimes bright fields, and it just kind of depends on what the journey has in store. And I embrace that all, and it is scary. There are risks. But like anything of worthy report, there's going to be risks with anything that's worthwhile.
Yeah.
Mm. All right, Danny. Thanks so much for your call.
Sure. Thank you. Good night, guys.
All right. Good night. EA, we just have a couple minutes left, and something's kind of grabbing me here to a different place, even though I have 2 pages of notes here about questions. Something came up in the text chat recently tonight, where they were mentioning that, basically, oh gosh, how do I say about this? It's so sensitive. Maybe they're feeling suicidal, and were complaining that they had taken a bunch of pills and they didn't do what they were supposed to do. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I just think you're so wise and so insightful. So I just want to ask you, what would you say to somebody who's in that place? Because we've all been there, so you're not alone. But I just want to ask you to share some wise words with us for that, please.
I'm sorry. Could you recap that for somebody who's in what sort of place?
In a place that they want to go bye-bye. They've had enough of this world.
Yeah.
They mentioned something about taking a bunch of pills and being mad that they're still here.
Yeah, and that's really, what I'm going to say probably isn't going to make sense to a lot of people, but you have this idea of the dark night of the soul, where you feel like you're beyond redemption, your life is beyond redemption, that things cannot get any better, there's absolutely no hope. And what you see in spirituality is that, and you'll even see this in mundane life, that dark night of the soul precedes extreme growth, and that you'll always experience an extreme downturn, and that always comes right before a massive slingshot upwards. Now, I understand that people are definitely maybe considering that for quite some time, may have these feelings that don't ever go away, and they don't ever see that slingshot upwards. But aside from medical issues that need to be addressed medically, I think there's also a spiritual side to that needs to be embraced. And
yeah, oh gosh darn it, I'm sorry, EA, we are out of time. I just want to thank you for that and let you know on the chat you are not alone, and it is okay. And a few wise words from Tobias Lars: what you embrace, you erase; what you resist, persists. So just go with it. Let the emotions flow through you, feel it, and everything. Even this, too, will end. It is that time. We're going to, tomorrow. Yeah, this is the end of the show. We're going to see you tomorrow night. Stay tuned. Freeman Radio coming up next.